The Mariners were able to take the series down in Houston, but unfortunately got knocked out of the division chase in the process. Joe and I are going to break down the 3 games against the Astros before talking about, probably for the final time, the Mariners' playoff chances and where they are at as we head into the final series of the year, which is going to be against the Oakland Athletics. That's the last topic we will talk about. What do the Mariners have to do versus the Athletics to get into the playoffs? We'll talk about all that and more here on episode 125 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav network, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. And Joe, this is the Freddie B episode of the Hit It Here podcast. What do you think the B stands for?
Badass mother. Maybe not all of those letters. That would be an expanded.
One long last name.
Yeah, it's pretty long last name. Probably some hyphens in there, but Freddie B. I said it. I don't have to say it again. Okay. Maybe instead of that, the B stands for Bryce Miller. Thoughts? Shoved in game 1 in a do or die must-win situation. 7 strong. After having some back stiffness, maybe the B stands for back stiffness. Yes?
I'm pretty sure, Joe, it stands for Bet Online.
Thank you to Bet Online for being a sponsor for the Hit It Here podcast. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your #1 source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. And yes, I know baseball season only got about 2 weeks left, but guys, the football NFL regular season, it's in full swing. And if you think you know your stuff, get in on the $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online. The game starts here. The B stands for before I was rudely interrupted while I was talking about Bryce Miller. 7 innings, shutout ball, a ballsy pitching performance on the mound when the Mariners needed it most. Back stiffness, powered through it, pitched in front of his grandfather for the first time. A big moment for Bryce Miller, pounding his chest after he got that final out in the 7th inning. Needed every bit of it. Brought his season ERA to below 3. Colton, this is a foundational tone-setting win, I think, for the first game in this Astros series. It was a close one for a long time until the Mariners did eventually get Hunter Brown out of this game. They do tag the Astros bullpen for 5 additional runs after getting 1 off of Hunter Brown. A final scoreline of 6-1. A good offensive game all around. 13 hits. I mean, Julio goes 3 for 5, another multi-hit game there. Robles 2 for 4. The top 4 in your lineup all have multi-hit games. Great to see all around. Yordan not available in this series for the Astros. That is something that definitely helped, I think, lessen the, intensity as far as going up and down the Astros lineup. But this was a complete win in game 1 from start to finish.
It really does start with Bryce Miller. People are saying, Joe, his best start of the year. I say, given the situation, I agree with that. I would say in terms of his best starts, the one versus the Braves earlier this year,
Sure.
in my opinion, was just better in terms of like final stats and whatnot. But this game specifically, based on the ballpark they were in, the team they were facing, the situation the Mariners found themselves in, going into Houston, where you have to win every game. And if you want any chance of this division, you got to sweep Houston. Like, he went out there and he gave it his all. And like you said, up until, what was it, that 7th inning, he had been breezing through this lineup. 1 hit on it, and all it was just like a little dinky ground ball infield hit. He gets to that 7th inning, he starts to struggle a little bit. But Bryce was able to work his way out of that, and probably the most emotion we've seen out of him coming off the mound. It was so cool to see. Like, it was one of those starts where you're like, that guy just took a step forward. Like, that start specifically, he will be a completely different pitcher after that. He has the pedigree. Like, to be able to go in there into Houston and shut down the Astros for 7 innings in basically a playoff atmosphere was something that I didn't really expect out of Bryce in this game. And he was able to come through. Like you said, the offense did their job here. Julio more so than anyone else. Going into game two, Joe, Framber Valdez versus Logan Gilbert. This is a game where Framber has had everything working. Framber was very good in this game. They were able to get him out eventually, I think, in the 6th inning, but they were not able to capitalize with the big hit, which has been the story all season. And Logan was not his sharpest in this playoff atmosphere.
Yeah, the 5 2/3, 8 hits line for Framber seems like it could lend to more than 3 earned runs, but unfortunately the Mariners do not, like you said, come through with that big hit. Astros being able to pull go to their bullpen, get Brian Abreu out there, and the bullpen would shut it down the rest of the way as far as the Astros are concerned. Those 3 runs the Mariners would get, that's all they would have. And Logan Gilbert, you're saying not as sharp as, gives up 3 home runs in this game, 2 solo shots, but 1 a 2-run bomb from Jason Hayward, who tormented the Mariners in Los Angeles. Now in Houston, delivers the final blow, it felt like, in this game. No more runs would be scored beyond the 5th inning. Mariners had chances, though. I mean, 9 hits across this one. They go 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position, leave 8 on base. The Astros only had 2 at-bats with runners in scoring position. Only left 3 on base. The Mariners had not every chance, but they had a lot of opportunities to really go out there and take a series win in game 2, going for a sweep in the final day, but just not as sharp as they needed to be. Some, I think, questionable pinch hitting opportunities, or just, interesting moves. JP, obviously a big 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. Garver, an 0 for 4. You pinch hit Luke Raley for Dylan Moore late in this game. He gets a singular pitch, his fault for swinging, but it was a moment where I feel like I would rather have seen Josh Rojas pinch hit there and save Rayleigh for the Garver at-bat that was eventually going to come later in this game. But that's hindsight. We'll never know, fully if things would have really mattered that much as far as, different outcomes. But you lose this game, you watch the Astros clinch the American League West. It was a bittersweet loss, one that you were very, very upset about just watching this game as it goes on. And rightfully so. It's a crappy game to lose. It's one that you couldn't really afford to lose. You had to be perfect to really have your best opportunity to make the playoffs. But again, it then rides on what you do in the final game on Wednesday. If you lose that game, the season's basically toast. And it almost even is with an 8-1 victory, a resounding victory in the final game. But it was against their drunk lineup, the hungover lineup. So it's was it really that much more impactful?
We have to talk about it.
Feel free.
The tweet, chat. There's no chat. This isn't live. The tweet, YouTube. I told you guys at the end of the last podcast that the tweet about Cal Raleigh cementing his legacy was at 421,000 views with 200 and whatever bookmarks it was. Joe, I don't know if you've looked at it today, have you?
Nope.
What do you think it is at now, a little less than 24 hours later?
I'm going to say 510,000 views is what I will say.
It is at 552,000 views, so 131,000 views gained on that tweet in the last 24 hours. All Astros fans. Yeah.
Our mentions have been a war field, a war zone. It's not been fun, but some of them have been fun. I will say some of them.
Some people have been cool.
Yeah, or not doesn't have to be cool, but some of the responses I think are funny. Apollo Media with the quote tweeting it, doing the Interstellar, no, don't let me. Yeah, it's just funny. People have a good sense of humor sometimes, but the people that are just sitting there going update, look through the replies. That's probably the most commonly responded thing is update to that tweet.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Maybe we brought it on ourselves. Maybe we brought along, or I guess Cal in this situation because he's the one that said it. Did he bring the Astros to life?
Did he cause the Mariners' downfall?
Whoa. Yeah, going into game 3, Joe. One where, like you said, you have to win if you want to keep pace. Moving on in the wild card race, and obviously the division at this point is out of reach. We already know that. The Astros are able to celebrate that win. George Kirby comes in and he does his job. He pitches really well, and he has for a few games now. Like you said in our post-game live stream, I called him the Marco Gonzalez of 2024. And you know what? He's had one of those streaks where Marco's good.
Yeah, he's answered the call essentially. He's trying to. As Bryce Miller's beaten the road split allegations, Kirby, I think, has started his campaign against the Marco 2024 allegations. 6 innings, 4 hits, right? 1 earned, 6 strikeouts. A good start. It's 3 in a row for him. You needed it. Sure, the Astros, they're not going to put their best foot forward. So much so that they committed 5 errors in this game. Shout out Shea Whitcomb. Tough scenes, just brutal, but
Yeah.
you take what you can get. I mean, you look at the final line for the Astros pitchers. The team itself allowed 8 runs, only 3 earned. If that tells you how those 5 errors kind of helped push the game in the direction for the Mariners. But an 8-1 victory, I mean, you only allow 1 run to the Astros in general, so 3 runs would have been enough anyways, but outscoring them by 7 in this final game, what is that? Like, you outscore them by like at least double digits. You lose one game by 1, but you outscore them by 5+ in the others. Like, the offense is doing their job, it looks like. They're putting the ball in play. They're hitting the ball hard. Julio gets his 2020 season, 3rd one in a row. 3rd season, it's like him and Bobby Witt Jr. The only 2 guys in MLB history, first 3 MLB seasons going 2020. Good for him. I don't know if it's too little too late. It feels like it is, because you lost the 2nd game and now you're really relying on the teams around you to play, like, just underperform, I think is the way I describe it. You need teams to really struggle for you to have a chance, but you've locked up a winning season. You're at least going to have 82 and 80 under your belts. Let's hang the banner. Let's build the statue. A good win going into an off day, returning home for the final series of the year, Colton. It's a good win, but again, it's almost hard to celebrate it when we feel so numb about how the season has gone.
It really does feel like, again, there's 3 games left. The season's over. The Mariners are more than likely not going to make the playoffs because they need a lot of help, Joe. The Mariners, first and foremost, they have to sweep the Athletics. They have to. Or they can win 2 of 3, I think. But the Tigers and either the Twins or the Royals have to lose out, I think. Something like that. The Mariners have to sweep the Athletics, and if they do that, then the Tigers or the Royals have to go 1-4.
Yep.
Both of them can go 1-4, but the Tigers are playing the White Sox. That's not going to happen. If the White Sox go on a 3-game winning streak against the hottest team in baseball, I'll get a tattoo of
the final White Sox win-loss record.
Yeah, their win-loss record. I'll get it tattooed on my ass.
There you go. Huge.
So really, we're looking at the Royals. They need to go no better than 1-4, assuming the Mariners sweep, which is a big ask, obviously. And the Twins can go 3-2 or something like that. So if the Twins go 3-2 and the Royals go 1-4 and the Mariners win out, the Mariners would take that 3rd wild card spot and get to go back to Houston.
Yep.
They can watch them celebrate again.
I mean, the thing is with that, though, they have played Houston exceptionally well all year. If there's a spot that, like, you can go, and again, this is copium. This is me just riding the high of how well they played against Houston all year and winning the season series, winning this, like, beating them a bunch in Houston. Like, not to say that if we do make the wild card 3, that's like my ideal destination. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Either you go in and have the team that took you out of the division take you out of the playoffs again, or you go in and take back the playoff spot, essentially. That's the only way I'd want it. I don't want to go to Camden. I don't want to go play Baltimore because it's just not as exciting. I want that rivalry. I want that, like the fire to be fueled even more. It's just, that's my headcanon how I want the season to end if the Mariners do make the playoffs. But we do have to talk about scenarios, essentially. You kind of laid it out, and it was on the broadcast. Mariners win out. Tigers, Royals go 1-4. Twins go 3-2. You need 2 out of those 3 scenarios. I've got the, projected starters for each team and their team that they're facing according to Fangraphs. Things can change. It's the final stretch of the year. Like, if Tariq Skubal needs to go a day earlier, the Tigers will make it so, right? Like, he's scheduled to go on Sunday against the White Sox, but if they need him to go Saturday for whatever reason, like they want to, they can do it. Like, there's going to be...
He's throwing a perfect game.
That's how he caps off his Cy Young award-winning seasons, a perfect game against the White Sox in game 160, game 162. Yeah. So the Tigers faced the Rays. They won 2-1 in the first game. We don't know the outcome of this game, but you guys will. Wednesday, Keter Montero versus Zach Littell. And then they've got Reese Olson versus Tyler Alexander on Thursday. Day off for the Mariners on Thursday. Every other team is playing, even the Athletics. So they're not going to have a rest day. They will be playing the Rangers through Thursday and then come to town on Friday. So maybe that bodes well for the Mariners, catching them not having an off day. The Mariners get to rest. Their bullpen will be full go. I mean, it would have been regardless, but that's something to kind of keep an eye out for. But again, Tigers, they're a lock, I think. They're playing the Rays. They have the easiest schedule. And then they face the White Sox, where, sure, Crochet is lined up to pitch, but like he's not going to go more than 3 or 4 innings against Casey Mize. Then they've got Brant Herter versus Sean Burke. But of course, like the Tigers and AJ Hinch have done plenty of times this year where they'll do a bullpen day and piece it together and figure it out. And then Scooble is slated to start the final game against Jonathan Cannon. But again, don't take these as like fully set in stone because things can change with the season on the line. A lot of teams will go out of their way to make sure that their best guys are pitching. The Twins, they're playing against the Marlins. You need them to go 3-2 at worst, which honestly, looking at it, it feels okay. Because sure, they're playing the Marlins, and the Marlins gave the Mariners some help in the first game. Wednesday, it's Simeon Woods Richardson versus Edward Cabrera. So hopefully it's future stars Edward Cabrera from MLB The Show pitching. Then David Festa versus Valente Beozo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing.
I don't know who either of those people are. What the hell?
I don't think it's Belozo because I assume the double L is making that yeah. But I feel like he's been pretty good this season. I saw him a bunch during fantasy season as like a guy that I could potentially stream, but it's a Marlin, so it's not good. He's got a 3.82 ERA on the year, but an expected ERA of 5.18. I expect the Twins to probably win these next 2 games. But they have shown that they're not playing well and that they can lose to the Marlins. They do finish out against the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah.
And Orioles, we saw them lose to the Tigers. So how much they're really competing. I mean, they have a big series against the Yankees going on right now. If maybe that fires them up trying to get back on the right side of winning baseball games, that could bode well for the Mariners. The Twins will have Pablo Lopez in game 1 of that Orioles series against Cade Povich. Saturday is Zebby Matthews versus Albert Suarez. And then the Sunday game is Bailey Ober versus Dean Kramer. So Corbin Burns will not pitch against the Twins, which I think makes sense. They're going to save him for the first round of the wild card, first round of the wild card series that they have to play. But again, that's the most likely outcome because like 3-2, I mean, that's pretty average, right? Like that's especially for how the Twins have been playing. It's just that's going to be playing above what they've been doing. And then you look at the Royals, and it's the same kind of situation where like they've been bad, but they finally broke their 7-game win streak against the Nationals. And this is arguably the most interesting final stretch of games to watch for the teams around the Mariners, and we'll get to why in a second. But Michael Lorenzen versus DJ Hers. Hers has had a great season so far for the Nationals. I think was acquired in the Candelario trade. So that's good for them. And then Michael Wacha has had a great year for the Royals against Patrick Corbin. So does not bode well. The Royals need to go 1-4 if the Mariners win out, right? I don't know if the Nats split this series. It'll be tough. If they do, great. And then it comes down to the Braves sweeping the Royals, which is the likelier outcome than the Nats winning the last 2 games, in my opinion. Braves have Chris Sale going Friday against Brady Singer. Max Fried against Seth Lugo on Saturday, a great matchup. And then Cole Reagans versus Spencer Schwellenbach. Like, those are all 3 great pitching matchups. But to expect the Braves to sweep, that's a tall order, especially...
Is it in Kansas City?
It's in Atlanta.
Oh, okay, thank God.
Yeah, it is. They are on the road for their last bit there. But
cheating Royals.
But Colton, you kind of broke news during stream, and I think Baseball World's kind of talking a lot about this, about what this kind of implies. The Braves and Mets, they've got a doubleheader on Monday. So I'll let you take the reins here.
So the Braves and Mets are supposed to be playing a series on Wednesday and Thursday, but inclement weather they preemptively canceled both games. And the next day that they could possibly play is then Monday. There's so many weird implications to that, but specifically for the Mariners, the Braves will basically be trying to create some separation. And actually, did the Mets take over the wild card spot? They did.
Mm-hmm.
So the Braves are currently, as we record this, a half game back of the Arizona Diamondbacks
And a full
and
game
one
back
game
of the
back
Mets.
of the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they're going to be playing for their playoff lives versus the Royals. They are trying to put themselves in the best position that when they play the Mets on Monday, they can take that AL wild or the NL wildcard spot. Obviously that implies that there'll have to be interesting things done with like the Diamondbacks and whatnot as well. But they're a half game back. They're still certainly in this race, and they finish. They literally, those last two games on Monday will likely decide who takes that wild card spot.
Yep.
Which is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the Braves are going to be doing their darndest to take care of the Royals, which is good. The Braves are without Austin Riley the rest of the season, which is a shame. But yeah, and then what I think is weird about it, just from a baseball perspective, Joe, is then they would have to play again the next day after playing a doubleheader. Play again the next day, no off day in between them finishing the season and then going and playing a wild card game. That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I mean, when it comes to that, the Royals, if the Mariners win 2 of 3, the Royals have to lose every game the rest of the season.
Yeah, that would be and then the Twins could go 2-3 in that situation. Like if the Mariners don't win out, take that 1-4, turn it to an 0-5, take that 3-2, turn it to a 2-3. But if they lose the series against the Athletics, you're eliminated. Like the magic number to get to, I'd say you kind of broke it down on the stream, is 85 and 77, and the other teams around you get to 84 and 78.
And by the time you guys are hearing this, which will be Thursday, we will know how the games at the end of Wednesday turned out. So if the Royals win a game tonight, or if the Tigers win a game tonight, the Mariners then have to sweep for sure. Otherwise, they're eliminated. Like any game, if the Royals win tonight and they win tomorrow, and the Tigers win tonight and they win tomorrow, the Mariners are eliminated. The Mariners can be eliminated from postseason play as early as Thursday afternoon.
Yay.
Yeah. Woohoo. But it's something where I think we all know it's coming, right? We all are expecting it at this point. Nobody in their right mind is truly believing in this team right now, because how could you? You know what I mean? Like, they have taken every opportunity and blown it, Joe. And as we go into this final series of the year, Friday, Saturday, Sunday versus the Oakland Athletics, the final series of them ever being called the Oakland Athletics, by the way. They will have just wrapped up a pretty emotional series down in Oakland. The last time that team will be there. That series is going on right now. It's been pretty hectic already. They were able to walk off game 1 for the Athletics. But as we move forward here, looking at, again, the Mariners are playing for their playoff lives. The Athletics aren't playing for anything. However, they probably want to end on a good note.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not going to just lay down and die, Joe. Tell me about the pitching matchups the Mariners have set up versus the Athletics.
Well, there's no probables announced, so I'm relying on Fangraphs here, and we talked about it last time of like when Castillo could come back, and Friday, September 27th would be his first day eligible. Obviously, Emerson Hancock was sent down, and it was Gabe Spire that was brought up.
Yeah.
And then they brought back Gregory Santos and sent down Jonathan Diaz. They do not have a long arm out of the pen that they could use as a spot start. I think that the most likely outcome is a Castillo start on Friday or a Brian Wu start on Friday, where they have an off day to play with on Thursday to kind of realign the pitching staff, if you will. And maybe it's Brian Wu into Luis Castillo, depending on how he's feeling. You go Miller on Saturday, you go Logan Gilbert on Sunday. Like, there's a lot of things they can do. It really will depend on if they are eliminated or not, I think is how that will go. If they're eliminated Thursday, Castillo's not starting. They're not going to risk that, I don't think. They would just do a big bullpen day, and kicking off Friday, City Connect last City Connect game of the year.
Fan appreciation night.
With a bullpen game is just going to hit, dude.
Fan appreciation night, fireworks night. bullpen game.
Maybe they don't go a bullpen game. Maybe they do move Brian Wu up. But like, if they're eliminated, Castillo's not starting, right? Unless it's Friday. That's like I think the one situation where it makes sense. And you mentioned like the Athletics don't have anything to play for. That's the most dangerous version of any team ever, is a team that has nothing to lose. Whereas you are the team that has absolutely everything to lose, should they still be in playoff contention come Friday. It's listed as JP Sears. So we're getting like a decent turn through the Athletics rotation, if you can call a part of the rotation decent, if that makes sense. Like, we're getting the best of like an Athletics rotation that's like, okay, like they can go out there and like throw a couple good shutout innings when they need to. I will be curious to see, and again, a similar situation of like, you'll know how the games went. I think we'll know by tomorrow when people have listened to this what the like situation on Castillo will be, if he is eligible, able, and willing to go out there on a Friday night with the season on the line and maybe make his last start in a Mariners uniform. I don't know. I really don't know. There's a lot up in the air right now, but Castillo versus Sears is what is listed on Fangraphs, and Colton has a comment.
The Tigers are up 2-0 on the Rays, top of the second.
So game 2, Saturday, September 28th, is listed as Brian Wu versus Joey Estes. Estes had a great start against the Mariners early on in this season. We know what he's capable of, I'd say. Like, we know the tail of the tape. Like, it's nothing special, but like, if you let him get into a groove, he can start mowing guys down. It really will come down to like how much effort this team's going to put forward. Will they look like games 1 and 3 versus the Astros, or will they look like game 2? Because game 2, I think, was a stark difference as far as effort is concerned to deliver the final hit, to really go out there and try and like pounce on a team that is trying to give you the win, essentially. I'm not saying that the Athletics are this like grand team that are going to go give it to the Mariners, but like, they've got hitters. They've got some decent pitchers that can go out there and like, you can't like, this team is not going to lay down. You cannot go into this series with your season on the line without the same level of intensity as a playoff game. This should be a playoff level atmosphere from start to finish. First pitch Friday night all the way to final out Sunday evening, or Sunday like afternoon.
We know how well the Mariners have played at home. It's going to be a packed house. Like, I was looking at tickets. They're expensive. They're almost all sold out this weekend. Last 3 games of the season. Like, I get it. But that, I don't know if that necessarily gives the Mariners the edge.
Yeah.
And of course you need teams to win out. Even if the Mariners win out, the Mariners might not make the playoffs. So it's like the hard part there is they don't control their own destiny, which I feel like we talk about every single year. And in terms of the vibes of going into this last series, it feels very similar to the vibes the Mariners had in 2021, where it's like, okay, it's not in your hands now. Like, you have to go out there and win these games and hope that other teams help you out. And it didn't work out in 2021, as we know. The vibes around the team, however, were much better in 2021 because A, nobody thought the 21 team was going to do anything. Nobody thought they were going to win 90 games.
Yeah.
And B, like, they were hot. They were, I mean, the Mariners have been hot, don't get me wrong, but like everything with the Bleav signs, everything, the team is, and rightfully so, is being held to a higher standard right now than it was in 21. Because again, no one thought that team was going to win. So the difference is going into this series is that the Mariners, if they lose this series, there's going to be, everyone knows, or not lose the series, but if they don't make the playoffs, everyone knows there's going to be a lot of interesting questions that need to be asked this offseason. The one of Scott Service has already been answered. Obviously, he's gone. Sounds like the Jerry DiPoto one has been answered. He'll be here. But just personnel-wise, in terms of who's going to be the hitting coach, do they somehow get Edgar to come back? Do they somehow go out there and make an addition that actually helps his baseball team offensively? We don't know. So it's like, this is the last kind of hoorah for this team to make the playoffs before I feel like a lot of this team, I don't want to say gets dismantled, because you'll still have the core. You'll still have Randy, probably, Julio, and Victor. You'll still have Cal, more than likely, and JP. And the pitching staff will largely remain the same, but there's going to be a lot of changes over the next few calendar months here. And if the Mariners don't go in and basically win this series and make the playoffs, it's going to leave a real sour taste in people's mouths through the holiday months and into next year.
Yeah. The final game, Colton. If Bryce Miller goes out there and twirls another gem against Mitch Spence, really will solidify that he's had the best season, I'd say, as a Mariners starting pitcher. If he continues his dominant ways, I mean, he'll be the only, I mean, assuming he pitches to no runs, only starter with an ERA below 3 of like a qualified starter. Definitely earning himself some Cy Young votes in there, I would say, at some to some degree. Maybe not as high as Logan because the innings and the strikeouts are definitely there for Logan compared to where Miller is at. But yeah, that final game, I hope that they do what everything that they can to ensure that they have the best chance. You need to win out. You cannot drop a game this series, and just give your team the best opportunity to allow others to help. If it doesn't go that way, then they can say, at least for the last like 10 games, they did as much, close to as much as they possibly could. And you won't look back at many of those games in that stretch with as much like as of like a criticism lens than other games earlier on in the year. Of course, there's going to be the two ones that stand out are like, it's game 2 against the Yankees, it's game 1 against the Rangers at home against Kumar Rocker, it's game 3 against the Rangers in Texas, and then game 2 against the Astros. Like, yeah, you can select one of those four and be like, yeah, they could have won one of those games pretty safely. But there's going to be other ones that you're really going to, I think, look back on, like the big Royals loss where like you were up huge, and yeah, just
again.
Yeah, right. Like how have they done this again? But I think I don't know. You've kind of laid it out on Twitter, like when this season is over, it'll almost feel like there will be like a big exhale around a large part of the community because of how tumultuous this season's been, how draining this season has been. And I'm not necessarily saying I don't feel that same way, but once the season is done, for better or for worse, regular season wise, being able to breathe will feel nice.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say that there is a chance if Castillo doesn't come back, the pitching matchups go Wu, Miller, and then Logan.
Yeah.
On Sunday, so that's a possibility. So that's just something to keep in mind, that Logan could have another turn through this rotation. But yeah, man, it's, game 3. I'm going to be at games 1 and games 3, and if game 2 matters, I'll go to game 2. I mentioned on stream, but I figure I'll mention it here because people might not have seen it. Before the last game, I'm going to be on the 300 level, right above the Hit It Here Cafe, like above that stairwell, like X section 306 or something, just hanging out, just trying to, meet everyone one last time before the season's over. So if you guys do want to say hi or something, snap a picture. I got to fill up this board, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, but that'd be sick if you guys do want to come through. But yeah, we'll kind of talk a little bit more of like memorializing the season, on Sunday, assuming that the Mariners don't make it. But yeah, this is the last podcast of the regular season that we're doing right now because the season will be over when we do the next one. And so it's like, I don't want to reminisce too much on it because that's what we'll do on Sunday's podcast. But it's just, this has been a season that has really drained me. I know. I'm sure it's drained you quite a bit too. Like, lot of things this season have just been like, damn. Like, why do I continue? I questioned why I continue to subject myself to this every single year. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Like, yeah. Why do I let this affect me so much? And there's no right answer. I mean, the one thing I want, and I'm going to say this again on Sunday, but I want to say it now. The one thing I want is for this ownership group to care about the team as much as the fans care about this team. And I think that it'll never happen, right? Like, that's the thing. We talked about it on stream. John Middleton of the Phillies, he cares about the team. He cares about the city. He cares about making this team, the Phillies, better and going out there and winning a World Series. And he's proved it. He's given them the money to go out there and make the acquisitions they need to make. John Stanton, Chris Larson, they don't care. It's making them money. Why would they care? And I will never boycott going to Mariners games, just so we're clear. Like, that is not an option. I will continue to give these idiots my money. With that being said, I have given them a lot less money this year. I've been buying the cheapest tickets, been buying value meals. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to the games. I'm just spending less money.
He's being fiscally responsible as opposed to, going a little frivolous with his money.
That's right. So I don't know. It's going to be a really tough couple of days to watch. Like you said, it's going to, when they are officially eliminated, because I think we both agree they're probably not making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
When they are officially eliminated, it is going to be like, okay, it's over. Like we don't have to stress anymore. We don't have to worry about it anymore. You know what I mean? Like the team's dead. Sorry. Like it'll be something, it'll be very bittersweet because I'm always excited about the offseason. I'm excited about the moves they might make. And it's always, the offseason is always so interesting and fun to me. But it's also like, damn, now we don't get to watch baseball for the next 4 months. I don't get to go to the stadium for the next 4 months until spring training. I don't get to watch sports or be in the sun or hang out with fans. And that part's always hard for me. That part is, more than anything, is the part that takes the most out of me. So that's going to suck, but I do look forward to being able to talk about the Mariners in the offseason, whether they make it or not, just trying to figure out what kind of moves they're going to make. That's going to do it here from us on episode 125 of the Hit It Here podcast, presented by Bet Online, the Ryan Johnson episode of the podcast. And for the final time during the regular season, go Mariners.